Real quick before we get in the episode, I just want to let you know there's a little bit of issues with the audio on this one. It just sounds kind of weird, peaks a little bit. So Michael and I are sorry about that. He's playing Minecraft right now. But we'll fix it next week. It'll be better. Just a little bit of issues with the setup. But enjoy the podcast nonetheless.
Where did our villager go?
Should I start it?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are, man.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Dude, I might have peaked my microphone on that. I'm not going to lie.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Dorm Room History Podcast, featuring today an actual dorm room.
Whoa.
Yeah,
word on the street is that we weren't able to reserve the podcasting room, so we're actually doing it in our dorm room.
We plan to do it here.
Shout out you. I hopefully, well, Blake will tell me if this is true or not, but hopefully you can see the flag in the background.
Oh,
they
can't. But there's a cool flag. Because remember the first time we did it here?
Yeah.
Before we started the podcast officially, we did some practice episodes. And we did show the flag, but we're not showing it today.
I had a dream. I just want to tell you my dream last night that I had. I had a dream that me and you went to the Dude Perfect headquarters.
Oh, sick.
And we were walking around, and some guy randomly stopped you on the street and asked you the weirdest question ever. And I'm like, why is some dude... And he turned around, and it was James Murray.
Holy crap.
And I was like, no way. And I looked, and then Sal was over there, and I was like,
oh my
we're
God.
on Impractical Jokers.
Dude, that'd be sick if we got on Practical Jokers.
And I don't remember what your response was, but first two things happened. One, I was jealous that I wasn't the one that was. But two, they took us back to like where the crew is and stuff. We got to watch like them do the rest of the episode. So it was really cool. It was
that is pretty sick, dude.
The reason that came up though is because this flag is featuring a quote from James S. Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can't see it though.
Well, if you could see it, then you would know. Even shout out audio only listeners.
Shout out audio only listeners.
There's one of them on there, and then two
you're
of them
missing
on
a lot
YouTube.
if you're an audio only listener. You don't see how I'm posted up right now. So
that's true.
Anyway, this is a pretty chill episode.
Yeah.
But like I said, welcome to the Dorm History Podcast, where our slogan is "What's up, Bing chilling." Blah.
What does that mean?
I can't say it.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Go on Google Translate.
It means something about ice cream, I think.
I do know bean Shalene means my cousin always says bean. He just plays Fortnite all day and then he yells bean Shalene the thing. And
that's sick.
I learned it means ice cream.
Let's go. Okay. Well, we're gonna start rocking and rolling right away, and I'll sit up because this is super serious. We're gonna start with our today in history, and so today's a really interesting one. We're not gonna go to ancient history for this one, but it is history nonetheless.
Oh, shoot.
And I'm excited to tell you guys about it. 1848 may ring a bell for any of you that are passionate about this event in history.
I'm trying to think of anything that happened in 1840s, and I have no, other than like BYU getting established.
This is a pretty big deal.
They're in the 1860s. Just kidding. That's not even the Pioneers getting Utah maybe around there.
This is a pretty big deal, man. Okay. In 1848, James Marshall finds gold in Sutter's Mill, Coloma, California, starting the California Gold Rush.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Big day for gold fans.
Big day for gold fans. Anyone who loves gold.
Anyone who needs to traverse the nether in safety. Big day for them.
Love some schmeckles.
That's true. If
You're
like
a big
those.
schmeckle fan.
Shout out Dune Imperium.
Shout out Schmeckles.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's our today in history. With that, I think that we're going to move on here because there's a lot to cover. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. I've taken the class before. This is the worst week in history.
This is one of the hardest weeks because just warning you right now ahead of time, like there will be like so many names and they will all sound the same.
Yeah, crazy. This week actually sucks, so get ready for that. But with that being said, Michael, you want to kind of roll us into what we're talking about this week?
We're going to talk about what the world would be like if magic was real.
Whoa.
Now you might be saying, I'm imagining a lot of the fans, like the 3 or 4 fans just in my ears and on my shoulders and saying, Michael, magic's not real. That's not part of history. Why would we need to know?
Yeah.
But I didn't expect that answer from you. That it's not true.
I believe in magic.
Okay, tell the viewers about your belief. This is already going on a different course next week.
When I was a kid, okay, I saw this guy.
David Blaine?
No, not David Blaine. No. I saw this guy, and he put this kid in a box that I knew, the kid. and then he removed that kid's neck.
Oh, word.
His body was there and his head was there, but no neck.
So now is he just like kind of doing one of these?
Well, no, but then he brought it back.
Oh, shoot.
And I'm saying, like, you can remove a neck. Anyone can remove a neck.
Right.
There, we have the tools and the technology. It's hard to put a neck back.
It's a lot harder to bring it back.
And I knew the kid.
Oh, shoot.
And he was like, whoa, my neck was gone. And so I believe magic is real. And also, if magic wasn't real, where would we get quarters from? Because you've
That's
true. Them pull them from behind people's ears.
Is, getting them from behind people's ears.
And so it must be real.
So yeah, what's the like the Bureau of Printing and Engraving? Bureau of Print, BPE. Bureau of Printing and Engraving. That's the place that makes money.
I don't think so, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is.
Okay, sure.
Place makes money, dude. Well, anyways, what would they do without magic?
It's true. We wouldn't have quarters.
Right. So we'd be in deep trouble.
It's true.
But let's just think for a second. All jokes aside, I mean, I don't believe in magic. But the thing is, people in history believed in it enough that you have to like study it anyway. You have to study magic in history, which is really interesting. Like, for example, the Nazis believed, and I was researching this before we started. I was like, dude, the Nazis are crazier every single time I hear something about them. Like, Blake was setting up the set, and I was researching this, and I was like, holy crap, like the Nazis did that too. Like, they're just crazier and crazier every time I read about them. But this is the Heinrich Himmler is his name. He's a Nazi. And he was the leader of he believed that medieval witches passed down their powers through the gene pool. And he also led a top secret project to create a Nazi-style religion through witchcraft spectacles. So
Whoa.
check that out.
That's sick.
So like, point being, like,
dude, we used to have some pizzazz in life. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, magicians, if you're up with magician culture like I am, you know about the modern like wonders of magic, like Shin Lim. You got your Puff the Magic Dragon, all these famous magicians. But like, shout out to magicians in the old days trying to start religions with their magic. That's way cooler.
Like, believe in magic or not, like, you have to study it because like it changed what that guy did, like his actions.
Yeah.
Right? It changed his beliefs. And so he would do different things because he believed in magic.
Right.
Even though you don't.
Yeah.
He did different things, right? The same thing happens with ancient religions, right? So even though Zeus is not real, you got to study him in history because people made different decisions because they thought he was real, right?
Okay.
This is the basis you have to understand for all of Chinese history. And that's what we're going to talk about this week.
Okay.
Is these Chinese people believed so deeply in their religions, in their multiple gods and their polytheistic deities that they would make different decisions, drastically different decisions that would govern empires and change the course of world history because they believed in those gods.
Dang.
So
crazy.
Fascinating stuff from these Chinese people.
Okay, so we learned about magic this week.
We're going to learn a little bit about magic, more so about their religion.
Okay.
And their take on things. Yeah. But we're gonna walk through a timeline. I like to do history kind of like a story. So we're just gonna start at the very beginning. Kind of the first evidence that we have of Chinese civilization. There's a bunch of different cultures, or I guess little villages is a good way to explain it. And they all will have the same culture, this beta Chinese culture. And it's kind of like, I was explaining this to students the other day because it's not like a confederation of villages. It's not like a kingdom, not like any of those. But they all have the same culture. So it's kind of like if we removed state lines and country lines, and then we're like, Provo, you get to govern yourself, and Salt Lake, you get to govern yourself. They're very similar. Right. But they're not a cohesive entity. Okay. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're separate little groups in a bigger group.
But they both cheer for the Jazz.
Right. Or in this case, probably for David Blaine.
They both cheer for David Blaine.
Yeah.
Dude, people in Utah love magicians.
Do they?
I think so.
I didn't think so.
They don't. I love magicians and I live here.
Hey, leave in the comments if you like magicians.
But there's one village that's particularly well known because it's the one we have the most archaeological discoveries from. It's called the Banpo village. Okay. Banpo village. And there's two significant things about this. One, this is probably the most unique name you're going to hear this entire day.
That's saying something, by the way.
But two, it's part of, like I was saying, it's part of this culture, and the culture is called the Yang Shao culture.
Yang Xiao.
This is where we get into those names that I was discussing
Dude,
earlier.
that sounds like something you'd say in the hood to greet someone.
Yang Xiao.
Yang Xiao.
Like in the Chinese hood.
That's sick.
And this Yang Xiao culture that includes the Banpo village is contemporary with another culture called the Longshan culture.
Oh.
So don't get Yang Xiao and Longshan confused. Cause
I think if I could pause you, you guys may be starting to see why this week sucks. All the names sound the same.
And the Longshan culture is known for a very specific invention that Blake's a big fan of personally. Let him tell you about
I
it.
know we were already talking about this. We're already getting into it. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present to you possibly the greatest invention in the history of the world. I mean, if you take this course at its face value, because we talk about it a lot.
This is a tip for this class. If you don't know the answer, go ahead and write this invention in on the blank line, and you may get it right.
There's like a 90% chance you're right. Anyway, you're all wondering, what is this great invention that changed the course of history? The pottery wheel.
The pottery wheel.
It's a big deal.
Invented by the Longshan culture.
The Longshan.
Not to be
confused with the Yang Xiao.
With the Yang Xiao culture, which includes the Banpo village.
Yes, which includes the Banpo. So the Banpo, they're the Yang Xiao, and then you have the Longshan, and then they have the pottery wheel.
Yep.
And without the pottery wheel, you don't get Coca-Cola, because think about how they're going to make those cans.
True. Yeah. That's the only way to do it.
Yep.
The Yang Xiao and Longshan cultures are just the earliest form of Chinese culture that we have. But I don't want to burst your bubble or spoil anything for you. But there's evidence that the Longshan culture may not have been the ones that invented the pottery wheel.
What the?
Blake just set his microphone down and got up for anyone who's not watching this.
All right, I was upset.
There's significant evidence. We don't know, but there's evidence that it may have been brought from more Central Asian areas over to them. But we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they're creating a lot of pottery, and so that's how we have a lot of information about them. And yeah, I mean, it is wishy-washy. That's true. So if you're in Blake's camp, you can just go ahead and believe that China created that the pottery wheel.
It's a big deal. Okay. It's like the car of their time.
Yeah.
Or like it could be seen as
the iPhone.
The iPhone. It could be seen as similar to TikTok of their time. Like everyone's making TikTok dances. They were like, check out my new pottery.
Right, and then their polytheistic god is like, hold on, let me ban this, and then say psych a little bit later.
That's a good point.
So, luckily the pottery wheel was unbanned, so we still have it to this day.
For all you pottery fans.
So, if you were to locate the Banpo village, which is part of the Yang Xiao culture, or the Longshan culture in China, where would you look?
You gotta start asking me some harder questions, man. You're gonna look for some water.
You look for some water.
It's gonna be near there.
Would you prefer to drink salt water or fresh water?
I like the flavor of salt water better.
So this is so far I've asked you 2 questions, and it's been, do you believe in magic? And would you rather drink salt water or fresh water? And you give me the wrong answer.
Listen, I like the flavor, but I understand that I need fresh water as much as I doth protest.
So you're gonna look for somewhere with fresh water.
Yes.
You're gonna look for a river. Okay. Big time river in China. Don't quote me on this. I believe the Chinese name for it is the Yangtze River. But that will just confuse you with all the other names. So just know it by the American name for it, called the Yellow River.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to remember it's the Yellow River because they peed in it.
Oh, maybe. Mostly because like the clay made it look like that.
You can believe what you want. I'm just saying. You only got one place to pee.
But there's been talk around that there's another name for it. I'm just testing your knowledge. Do you know the other name for the Yellow River?
Oh, sorry. That was probably really loud. Other name for the Yellow River. I used to know because I remember I filled this in on a quiz and I got points for it.
Not as smart as I used to could.
I'm not as smart as I used to, kid, but back in the day we got the Piss River.
It's known as China's Sorrow.
Oh, China's Sorrow. And you can see why if you've been following this thread that I've been laying down for anyone who's smart enough.
It's called that because the flooding is not, I don't know, what do you call that?
It's not consistent flooding. It floods randomly, which causes disaster.
As opposed to like the Indus River, which we talked
about. Or the Nile.
Very, very consistent. Nile's one of the best rivers you're going to get. Tigris, Euphrates, all those rivers, very consistent. This one's not consistent.
If you were to do a flooding tier list, this is at the bottom. Just random.
Yeah, lots of deaths caused by people trying to dig canals, dig dams, just flooding of that river. Kind of reminds me of a meme I saw earlier today. I'm going to read this one.
Okay.
I found this earlier today. This Chinese history be like, Emperor Xi Ping Pong made himself a sandwich, causing 900,000 casualties, 8 human species extinct, 12 seas disappeared, and 3 planets dismantled.
That's true, dude. Lao Mong becomes emperor. 8 billion die.
Not to make fun of the deaths of those people. That's just Chinese history has a lot of unfortunate circumstances, including the flooding of the Yellow River.
Yes.
So.
Yes. But
yeah, also known as China's Sorrow. That's where your original Chinese cultures are going to be located. We're going to start off by getting into Chinese dynasties. This is when you kind of upgrade from, instead of just having like a culture, to like a legitimate country. Now, this is not as easy as you might think it would be, because the first Chinese dynasty probably didn't even exist. And so when I learned history, all my life I learned that the first Chinese dynasty is the Shang dynasty. And then when I got to BYU, I took a history class, and they're like, no, there's another dynasty called the Shah dynasty.
Whoa.
And I was like, I've never heard of that in my entire life. That's like, there's no way that's true. I know the Chinese dynasties. The reason I hadn't heard of it is because most historians consider that, or know that it wasn't true. Wasn't there.
Fake dynasty.
Yep. But nonetheless, I'll tell you a little bit about what they said about it.
Yeah.
It's what we know is from some historical documents called the Shujing, and we'll talk a lot about the Shujing later.
Yeah.
But the Shujing is written thousands of years after the Shah dynasty is supposed to have existed. And it talks about a Shah dynasty ruled by sage kings. And yeah, it probably didn't exist. The years they give are, because the Chinese are very exact with their years, they say it was from 2852 BC to 1766 BC.
Okay.
Or so the story goes.
Or so they say.
About the Shah dynasty.
But it's fake news.
It's fake news. So
not real.
If you're trying to memorize, even the well-known Chinese dynasty song doesn't include the Shah.
Oh.
You know that song?
Shang Zhou Qin Hong, Shang Zhou Qin Han, Lao Gong Ma.
That's one of those fill in the blank ones, like one of the few that if you put pottery wheel, it would be wrong.
Don't do that.
But still, most of the time, it's good.
Pottery wheel in our minds was a dynasty. In my mind, it was a dynasty, but it's not an actual
sometimes
Chinese
they call
dynasty.
it Long Qin.
Long Qin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's all you need to know, especially for just this early Chinese history we're talking about. Shang Zhou Qin Han. Notice how none of those were the Shah dynasty. Right? Because it probably wasn't there.
Whoa. We're going to stop you right there.
Hold, please.
There you go. We're going to get right into a quick query corner for you today.
The mic for sure peaked when I said that. I yelled it straight into it.
Let's go. Okay. So here's a little query corner for you, Michael, that I thought was super interesting. And I don't know if you know the answer because this is actually early U.S. history.
Okay.
But after the Revolutionary War, did the Second Amendment allow for regular old people to own artillery cannons?
I have no idea. But you know what that reminds me of is there's like a, it's not called, it may be called Comedy Central, like a Comedy Central bit, and it's called Precious Plum. Have you seen this?
No.
It's about this like really fat Southern mom and her daughter that she takes to like all the beauty pageants, and anyway there's like a tornado coming for their house. It's like that mom just pulls out a cannon and tries to shoot it that she owns.
Dang.
So
that's sick. Well, let me read you this because this is interesting. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the United States.
Oh, so you had the answer. So you were just testing me to see if I knew.
Well, this is the first time you guys have seen the contingency. I have the answer to all these questions pulled up. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the United States Constitution allows for Congress to grant letters of marque and reprisal, which were essentially permits to allow private citizens to capture foreign vessels during wartime. Which these are, as far as I'm aware, these are still in effect. So if the United States gets in a war, you have the right as a U.S. citizen legally to capture foreign vessels and pirate them.
Imagine capturing like a Yamato class battleship from Japan.
Dude, that'd be sick.
And you just like get to have it.
It is therefore assumed that those private citizens would own the ships outfitted with cannons and therefore able to own cannons. So,
All right.
to my fellow college students, if we go to war with Russia or China in the years soon to come, you are allowed to capture a Russian submarine and then you own it. So if it was your dream.
I was just thinking about that though. Like I would totally die though. How'd you even work it?
Oh, how do you drive a submarine?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there must be a wheel. I hope.
Well, there wasn't any wheels in Hunt for Red October, was there?
No, they did have a wheel.
Oh, they had a wheel?
Or maybe they didn't.
If they had a wheel, then I can nail that.
I could do a wheel.
Like now, like you just get a wheel and a gas pedal, and I'm ready.
Gas. Revving up my submarine. Don't mind me. All right. Question 2 for you, Michael. This one, we like to keep one that's on theme with the topic. Sue us. So we talked a lot about magic today and these magicians and all this stuff, this mystical, is this your card that they were doing back in ancient China. What gods did they attribute that magic to, if any?
That's a good question. One thing that there's this game that I like to play. It's called Age of Mythology, and a while ago they did an expansion for it, and the expansion wasn't actually very good, but they did do an expansion where they added Chinese gods that you could play. And I just want to read you the names of all the Chinese gods to confuse you as much as possible. But I haven't pulled up here. Fuji, Nuwa, Shenong, Huangdi, Dabu Gong, Chongli, Su Waking, Zhongqi, Aokang, Chengyi, Hebo, and Shi Wang Mu.
Did you say gobbledygook in there?
One of them is called Dabu Gong.
I swear you said gobbledygook.
Anyways, but one of the most, apart from all those, one of the most important gods that you're going to want to know is Shangdi. And you want to know him because he is very closely tied with the Yellow River and China's sorrow. So it's kind of like he's the one that's making it flood. He's the one that's making it do all the stuff. Don't get that confused with Huangdi. We're talking about Shangdi here, okay? Shangdi is also known as, I guess, China's oldest ancestor. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like maybe the Chinese people descended from him, kind of. So he's known as a god, but he's also the first ancestor connected with flooding of the Yellow River, that kind of thing. But yeah, he's one of the gods they worship.
Okay, sick. All right, well, I think we're just going to keep Query Corner short this week because a lot of Chinese information to digest.
A lot of Chinese stuff going on.
If I were you, I'd go listen to at the end, we're going to go through all the names at once. Yes. I'd just listen to that over and over. So we'll just keep it really short for you guys. But this has been Query Corner. Thank you for listening. We're going to send you right back to the main show. Okay, real.
Let's move on to some real dynasties.
Okay.
All right.
Get rid of this fake.
According to the Xu Jing, and then also some better records we start to have, in 1776 or 1766 BC, you get the Shang dynasty.
Okay.
I'll tell you some characteristics about them. They are going to start using some chariots, which is big invention because just anywhere around, once you get past 2000 BC, there's chariots and horses start being big in conflict. China, once you get south of Mongolia, kind of south of where the Great Wall of China is today, horses become less helpful because it's very jungly and the terrain is not very kind to horses.
Right.
But the chariots are there. They're going to conquer other areas, make those client states. They're going to rule over those areas. They're also going to be doing human sacrifice.
Big shout out human sacrifice.
So shout out the Chinese for doing human sacrifice at this point.
If you saw last week's episode, you know it's a big deal to do human sacrifice.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much everybody in the ancient world does human sacrifice. There's just a few cultures that do it a lot more than others, and the Shang are one of those.
And we stopped doing it, but now we cancel people on Twitter instead.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah. So it's similar.
Similar idea.
Similar vibe. How the Shang organize their structures is they kind of had so I've never seen this, but I've heard of this. Have you seen Attack on Titan?
I've seen clips of it.
Okay, so this is good that we're going to tell everyone about this show we've never seen.
Super good. I'd recommend it.
I have a really good friend, Isaac, that loves it. And one time I went to Cafe Rio and he told me the plot of 5 seasons of it or something.
Dude, that's just average Attack on Titan fan.
Anyways, I've heard that they build their cities in a circle and they have another wall around and it's a bunch of circles and circles and circles.
Oh.
Okay. And that's how the Shang built their cities.
Yeah.
And so in the middle you have your it's like a social hierarchy. In the middle of the safest place, you have like your emperor, and then it like gets worse and worse. And like the who live on the very outside of the walls, not even inside of a wall, is like the peasants.
Right.
And then also like curiously the merchants. Why do you think that would be?
Well, one could only assume the merchants live on the outside because they got tired of walking from all the way on the inside to the outside to grab their boxes from Shangazan. Is that true?
No, that was a good guess. Like that was probably the second reason.
Oh, okay.
But the main reason was a little different. And this is, if you're studying Chinese history, this is a really, really important like reflection. Like this is a great example for the rest of Chinese history. The Chinese civilizations that exist in China rarely like outside goods. Pretty much if it's not Chinese, like we don't want it anywhere near here.
Dang.
And so this is true because merchants are selling things from where? Not China.
Oh.
Right? And so they're bringing in these not Chinese goods. And
frick
so you have
those,
to frick
homies.
those, leave them on the outside.
Get out of here. Where was this made?
I mean,
Mongolia? Gross.
And this is going to exist like all the way through years and years and years of Chinese history. They don't like things that are not Chinese.
Yeah.
So it kind of begins here.
I have to say, it would be sick to buy a Mongolian yurt.
Yeah, dude.
A real one. But I guess the Chinese would be like, gross.
I mean, especially because those are kind of their arch rivals.
Yeah.
Like China and the Mongolians are
Okay.
constantly fighting.
It's like buying a Russian, what do Russians make? Vodka.
Oh, I was thinking the dolls where one of them goes inside the other one.
Oh.
But
No,
that's
those are okay. Those are fine.
But then on the inside of the walls, you got like rulers, you got diviners,
Ooh.
also known as magicians.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Dude, okay, so David Blaine's in there, and he's walking around like, I'm going to turn your pants into Fruit
Not
Loops.
there. Oh. And then you also in the Shang Dynasty, you got some guilds formed. So there started to be like some specialization in stuff like that. Next up, we have this really, really important idea that you need to understand that's going to govern the rest of Chinese history. And this is why we kind of led in with the idea of like, even if something's not true, you have to study it because other people thought it was true.
Oh, okay. It shapes the way they thought.
It's this idea of the mandate of heaven.
Ooh.
Okay. Very, very significant in Chinese history.
Mm-hmm.
The mandate of heaven is the idea that if you are not being a good like ruler with good morals and doing the right thing, then the gods don't want you in power anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's my job, who's not in power, to go take you down.
Oh.
And also, once I'm in power, I can do whatever I want because the gods wanted me to be in power. And if they didn't want me to be in power, then they wouldn't make me in
so
power.
You basically stand there like, oh.
You can
God
do that
wants
if you
me to
like. As long as you're doing morally correct decisions, the gods want you in power.
Oh, okay. And
Right?
as long as you decide that what you do is morally correct.
Yeah, similar.
Sick.
And so we get this idea from this new dynasty that's going to start cropping up as very small dynasty at first, and it's going to expand. It's called the Zhou dynasty.
Joe Mama.
He was waiting for that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've been charging up.
And the Zhou dynasty exists near the end of the Shang dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, and you may get confused because it's not spelled J-O-E.
I was
or
about
even,
to say.
or even J-O.
Can you explain how stupid this week is?
Z-H-O-U.
Okay. Yeah, so it's really dumb.
So the Zhou dynasty, the Z-H-O-U dynasty,
Frick them.
they create this idea of the mandate of heaven.
Right.
Okay. And they're going to, this is where the Shujing comes in, okay? Which was the book about the Shah, the fake dynasty we were talking about earlier. The Zhou are going to be the ones that are spreading around and maybe wrote the Shujing. Now, why would they write something like that? Because it was supposed to be like long lost records of the Shah dynasty. So why would they make up a Shah dynasty?
Well, I do know the answer because I wrote it in a quiz once. Do you want me to
Okay.
give the answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Basically, they wrote the record of the Shah dynasty because they were like, if we make up a story about another dynasty, we can basically say that we have the mandate of heaven because the Shang destroyed the Shah or something like that.
Yeah.
It basically gives a moral high ground over them to be able to do what they want. It's like Hollywood execs making these films about like being a good person, and they're all suck.
It's basically, yeah, it's what Blake said, right? So in the Shujing, in this story, the Shah exist and they're great and powerful, and all of a sudden their leaders start to be morally corrupt, and so it's the Shang's responsibility to go take them down. And so in the Shujing, the Shang go and take down the Shah. Right. And so now the Zhou are saying, hey, look at this ancient historical document of when the Shang took over the Shah because they were being morally corrupt, and now look, the Shang are morally corrupt. And so what we got to do about that?
We gotta go take them
We
over.
gotta go take them over, right?
Dang.
And so that's their excuse for going to take over the Shang dynasty,
That's sick.
right? And so you get this Zhou dynasty which is governed totally differently, governed completely differently. They're governed in and this is, by the way, I'll give you the year because the Chinese are specific. It begins in 1046 BC and ends in 481 BC.
Okay.
Okay. And they are governed in a much more feudal system.
Mm.
So I don't know if you know what feudal means for the common viewer. I know Blake does.
Yeah, I mean, you go and explain it to everyone. Obviously, I'm
feudal system is the idea of like it's if you're an American history fan, it's like the Articles of Confederation, where we have 13 very, very loosely knit together colonies, but they're not really. They're much less beholden to a central government than we are today. Right now, the president and Congress and the Supreme Court has ultimate jurisdiction over anything in the government. Right. That's the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Whereas in this Joe feudalistic form of government, the court, which is kind of like the loose government, has the loyalty of 15 different states.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're trying to like work with all these states. But if one of the states wants to do something, the court doesn't really have as much power to like force them to do something. Kind of, they can pretty much do their own thing.
Okay. Right.
So different government, where the Shang was just like, we're in charge of everybody. With the Zhou, it's like, here's all these different states, and they're just loosely bonded together.
Yeah. And I'm a big feminist, so for those of you other guys out there who are big feminists and really into feminism, and like 6 foot or whatever, it's the good way to think of this one that just like helps me think about it, because I'm just thinking about feminism a lot, but it helps me think that like this is like feudalism is like a bunch of strong and independent women together.
He's single, by the way.
So anyway, I just help some feminist bros out there.
Yeah, I'll just say they're boys that are feminists.
Yeah.
But in all these different states, there's a lot of diversity in how they're working. The southern states are going to be a lot more focused on cultivating rice, right? Whereas the northern states are going to be focused on keeping out the invaders from Mongolia.
Ooh.
At this point, who are going to be it's called the Xiongnu, or the Scythians.
Okay.
Depending on what time you're narrowing down. Eventually, they're going to become the Mongols, but they're not yet.
Okay.
Right. I really like a name for the Middle Eastern people. Come up with a name for them. They call them the Umanmanda. Which means the horde from who knows where.
Dude, you're throwing too many names to these people.
Yeah. Do you like the translation though? I thought the translation's cool.
It's cool.
They're called the horde from who knows where. Just for
the horde from who knows where. That's sick, dude.
But they're going to attack all the Chinese people.
I can't say it.
Okay. We'll take a pause on that. But the Zhou dynasty, they're going to create coins. They're going to do a lot of taxation. And the big strides they make are their innovations in religion. Okay? Because if you recall, they made up this mandate of heaven, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're making up a mandate of heaven, that means you also made up heaven.
Oh.
Because that didn't exist before. So they're also introducing the concept of heaven. And the Chinese word for that is Tian.
Tian.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that.
Tian. Yep. Zhou created this concept of heaven. And they also are big into, they use oracle bones.
Oh.
Do you know what that means?
It's like you roll these bones that are kind of like dice. They have like different sides, and then you read the different sides. I don't want to flex, but I've rolled oracle bones before. And
I've
really? Read them, yeah, in my Latin class.
Dude, I did too
school.
in Latin class. No way.
Dude, let's go.
That's sick, bro.
Big shout out. What'd yours say?
Mine just had different numbers on them.
Mine said I'd have like super thick thighs and like be really attractive all the time and stuff.
Well, so far, they're pretty good.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe we should go back to it. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have done that part at the start where it's like, even if it's not true, this is what they believe. I guess it's just true. And a really, really important historical figure you're going to get during this period around like 500 BC. His name is Confucius. Okay.
Write that down.
For those of you who know Confucianism, this is the homie. This is your guy you're looking for.
This is the Confucius from Confucianism.
Yep. And we'll get much more into Confucianism and the different philosophies versus religions later on when we hit China again, because we're kind of nearing the end of our timeline here. Mm-hmm. But just know he's an important homie. All right. For sure.
I'll keep it in mind.
Keep that in mind. And then if you remember how the Zhou dynasty was governed, which is the loose confederation of states, there's a couple problems here. What problems do you think might come up with that kind of government?
Well, listen, when you got, as much as I'm all for this feminism stuff, when you got all these strong and independent states, they tend to all want to be in charge.
It's true.
And then you have these
going south really quick.
trade wars and no. Okay, I'm still in support of women, and I think it's upsetting that we don't have a woman on this podcast. To me, but we'll get one. But you know, it often becomes a bit of an issue when you have so many different factions vying for power.
Absolutely, right. And so they're going to kind of start to split apart around 481 BC, and this is called the Warring States period. And it's going to last for like 260 years, I think.
Okay.
Because it's all these different 15 states that the Joe court held the loyalty of. Now they're split up and they're fighting each other, and you get the deaths of million, bajillion, gazillions.
Dang. It's a lot.
But yeah, the end of the Warring States period is going to kind of just take us to the end of our timeline.
Okay.
Here.
Interesting.
And then we'll pick up. Don't worry. Stay tuned for if you want to sing the song again really quick.
Oh.
Shang.
No.
The Chinese dynasty.
Shang Zhou Qin.
Well, pause. Stay tuned for the Qin.
And then after
Next
that,
time. The
Han, Shang Zhou Qin, Han.
Just memorize that, so now you know the order of the dynasties.
Keep singing that to yourself all the time, every day, and I promise you'll still forget it.
I just will never forget when I was like teaching this idea like last semester of the Shu Jing, and I was like, dude, so the Zhou created the Shu Jing about the Shah, and the Shang took over the Shah, so now the Zhou can take over the Shang. And my students were just like, what is happening?
Dude, I was literally crying in the corner when you told me that. Well, this is not real. You made this up, dude. It's fake. Okay. Well, I know that if I was back taking history 201 again, shout out Numbers.
Yep.
Good book in the Bible, by the way.
Numbers?
Old Testament.
Dude, yeah, I kind of agree. On my mission, I tried to read the Old Testament for my mission,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, man, Numbers is just like literally the Israelites' packing list, but not so. There's one story where they're like,
well, don't spoil it. Go read it.
Okay.
Tell us what chapters it's in. It's like 13 and...
I don't know. I used to, dude, if you caught me on the mission, I would know this immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the story about the quail. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like 13 or 17.
There's also the story in Numbers of the homies that go and look at the promised land. And then there's like the unfaithful ones and the faithful ones. I like
That's
that
true.
one.
That's true.
Anyway, Numbers is kind of like 2% milk. Like most of it is not milk, but you find that 2% that is milk. And
it makes
it's
the whole
so
thing
good.
better.
I don't know how milk works. I think that's...
Well, dude, I don't know if that's how it works, because like I drink 0% milk and I still think it's milk.
They just dyed the water white, dog. Anyway, sorry. What I was gonna say is if we could go just through the names real quick.
Yeah, no,
All
that's
the names we
actually a
just
great
covered.
idea. So in the beginning, well, you got the river, the Yangtze River, also known as the Yellow River, also known as China's Sorrow.
China's Sorrow.
Right.
So that's the river.
Okay. Banpo Village,
Banpo.
first place we got. Okay,
Mhm.
that's part of the Yangshao culture.
Yes.
Right.
The Yang Shao, the Banpo together.
Then you got the Longshan culture, which is contemporary
Mhm.
with the Yangshao culture.
Yes.
Right. They're the pottery wheel guys.
Yes. So remember the pottery wheel.
Got that?
Once again, like if you don't know the answer to one of these questions, put pottery wheel.
Just put pottery wheel probably. And then you got the fake dynasty,
Mm-hmm.
the Shah dynasty.
Right. Not
Right.
real.
Not real. Then you got the Shang dynasty,
Mhm.
first real one. Shang, Zhou, Qin, Han.
Shang Zhou Qin.
We got
Han.
the Zhou next.
The
right?
Zhou. Yep.
Shang, known for taking over the Shah, supposedly according to the Shu Jing, which
Mhm.
is the book that was written by the Zhou.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Also, fun fact for you, a lot of people credit the compilation of the Shu Jing to Confucius himself.
Wow.
So
Shout out Confucius.
He's getting another shout out.
There you go. Oh, he's a big guy.
Yeah, well, he's important.
He is.
And
So-
then we just hit the mandate of heaven as well. So
Mandate of heaven. Remember that. But yeah, remember all those names. It's really hard. What I would do if I were you, because this helped me, is go look at the spelling of those names as well. Because when I memorize like a name, I see it in my mind, like the spelling of it. And if you see Shaw as SHAW, which is how I thought it was, that's not right.
it's XIA.
Yeah, it's XIA. So when you think Shaw, think Zah. Thanks for the zombie Minecraft
Thank
noise,
you.
dude.
I'm proud of that
Does
one.
mine sound like a zombie
Yeah.
or spider
Uh-huh.
from Minecraft? Okay. Sick. Well, anyway, thank you for listening to the Dorm Room History Podcast. We know you loved that last part.
We know you did.
And
numbers.
so, what?
About numbers.
About numbers. As always, we're gonna hit you with that outro song. So roll the outro song.
Hopefully this picks up the neighbors playing the piano next door.
Good man, good stuff. All right.